Sharanagatoham Sharanagatoham Sharane Sharanagatoham 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 Sharane Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Sharane Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo 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 Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Sri Gurave Namo Namo Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Sharane Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya 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 Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Sharane Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Ram Krishna Sharanam Sharane
Om ya pritira vivekanam vishayeshu anapayini Tvam anusmarata same hrudayan mapasarpatu Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhus cha sakha tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. That intense love which the ignorant bear towards the objects of this world, may I have that same love for thee, for thou art my mother, thou my father, thou my only friend and companion, thou art my wealth and my only knowledge, thou art my all in all, O God of gods. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matrirupena Samsthita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Salutation to that goddess who is manifested in the hearts of all beings in the form of motherhood. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Om peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So first, happy Mother's Day to all mothers, and to the motherhood that is within the hearts of all. Today is Mother's Day in the U.S., as you know, and so I've often thought that one of the many things that Vedanta has to offer to the West is putting the holy back in holy days, holidays. The holidays in the West have become secularized and commercialized. In fact, some of them really were started for commercial purposes. Really finding more occasions in which to send cards to people so that you can send more greeting cards. But whether Mother's Day and Father's Day were started for commercial reasons or not, it's a very good idea to have a Mother's Day. As people sometimes say, Mother's Day, every day should be Mother's Day, and that's true. But human beings need occasional reminders. They need to be reminded of the importance of motherhood. And so it's not enough just to make every day Mother's Day, because pretty soon it's just another day. But to have reminders of the value, the supreme value of motherhood. So, as I said, salutations to that goddess who is manifested as motherhood in the hearts of all beings, because everyone has that capacity for motherhood within them. It's especially manifested in women, of course, because they are actual mothers, or they can become actual mothers. But it's manifested in the hearts of all, men and women, children, old people, everyone. It's manifested in animals, as we see everywhere in the universe, the tremendous power of motherhood. And sometimes you see great manifestations of it in unexpected places. Like once I was at Wild Animal Park in San Diego. I know San Diego Zoo is world famous, is one of the best zoos in the world, with a lot of research done and so forth. And they have, as an extension of the zoo, they have the Wild Animal Park, which is 1,800 acres outside of San Diego, where the animals roam free in herds, and different animals living together in the same huge enclosure. So you can see giraffes running across the plains, and rhinoceri and antelope and all sorts of animals all in the same enclosure, as they would be in nature. So once I was going, there's a train that goes around the Wild Animal Park, because of course you can't go in with the animals, and so it goes around the perimeter so you can see the different animals at work and play, both. And so once we had it was an unusual sight. In fact, the conductor of the train, or the guide on the train, told us that this was very unusual. An antelope had just given birth, just minutes before we got there, had given birth, and standing right in front of the baby antelope, the mother again had just delivered, and standing in front of the baby antelope, with the antelope to its back, was a huge African rhinoceros standing like this, guarding the baby rhinoceros, that nobody's going to touch it. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. That even cross species, that maternal instinct. So, again, the value of motherhood and the supreme importance of motherhood. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that God has put the idea of motherhood in the hearts of the mother in order to protect and to bring up the child. And recent research has discovered many ways in which the child and the mother are intimately connected, even biologically, neurologically, etc. And so it's a very, very intricate relationship at many different levels: the physical level, the psychological level, of course the emotional level, etc. So I want to back up for a minute, and whenever speaking about the motherhood of God, I like to begin with a contrary question. That is this universe a mechanism? Is the universe mechanistic? Modern science was developed on the idea that the universe is a mechanism. If this nowadays, most all of the clocks, or any of the clocks you buy in the store, are electronic, but in the old days, and the old days means when I was a kid, and when many of us here were kids, clocks were still mechanical clocks. And so if you were to take a clock apart and study the gears and the motions and everything, then you could figure out how to make a clock. And even with a watch, in the days when watches were purely mechanical, and you had to wind them up, and they ran on spring power, then you could take a watch apart and study the ratio of the gears and the way that the energy was transferred from the spring to the gears, etc., and how it made a clock work. And some kids are mechanical by nature. They love to, much their mother's distress, they love to take apart everything in the house, like the vacuum cleaners and everything else, often without the ability to put it back together. But at least they can take it apart. And so the science is built on a similar model. That as you can take a clock apart, as you can take a mechanical watch apart, as you can take a vacuum cleaner apart, as you can take a car apart, and then put it back together and see how it works. So the universe must be similar. It's a mechanism that you can take it apart, see what the parts are, study the parts, see how they fit together, how they interrelate, how they interact with each other, and then you get power over the universe. And we see that this idea of the universe as a mechanism has had great success in the world, because how else can you get a 747 up in the air flying with full of people? As a sort of thing that, again, if you had shown to primitive people, including ourselves, if we had not been born into the modern age, say if we were back in the 1700s and somebody took off in a 747 full of people, it would be a tremendous mystery to everyone. And yet, by knowing how things work in a mechanistic way, how forces interact, how matter interacts, etc., how the air currents interact with the wings, and propellers in the days of propeller planes, jet engines in the days of jets, you can make something so extraordinary happen as to get a 747 up into the air. You can get, of course, this is the land of NASA, to be more American about it, NASA, the day when we can get huge rockets up into the, not just into the air, but beyond the air, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the stratosphere, into outer space. And for those of you who have been to Johnson Space Center and seen the actual size of some of the rockets that were sent into space, it's simply amazing to think that that could be put beyond the Earth's atmosphere. And so, again, that mechanistic view of the world can take us a long way. This table, if I study the table, I can figure out how it was made. It's not a very complicated, it's not much of a mechanism, but it is a mechanism. It was put together. And so you can't just throw wood on the floor and you end up with a table. You can throw wood all day and you're not going to have a table. But you can study this, learn about tools, shaping tools, etc., and you can figure out how to make a table. You can study construction of buildings and figure out eventually how to make a building. And even such complex things are being reverse engineered, especially in countries like China, etc. We do it here too, but there's more need for it in countries like China, where they're trying to catch up technologically, where they buy or otherwise get high-tech things from the West and then reverse engineer it and figure out how to make it for themselves. So again, the mechanistic model of the universe. There are several problems with the mechanistic model. Again, it works great up to a point. It allows us to do amazing things up to a point. But if you stretch it beyond a certain point, you find that it breaks down, and that there are serious problems with it. For one thing, if the world is a machine, then the world doesn't care about me at all. Does the clock care about its parts? No. It's just a mechanical thing. The clock has no feeling. The clock doesn't take care of itself. If something breaks, a human agent has to come and fix the clock, exchange parts and make it work again. The clock has no self-healing mechanism to it, and it doesn't care about its parts. If you take the clock apart, the clock doesn't care. Your mother may care if you're a kid and you've taken her favorite clock apart, but the clock doesn't care. So with the car, if you take the car apart, the car doesn't care. Your father may get upset because you took his car apart, but the car doesn't care. And so if the universe is just a mechanism, it's just mechanical parts that are operating according to mechanical laws of physics, then who cares about anything? Who cares about anything? What does anything matter? Nothing matters. What do our joys and sorrows matter? They don't matter at all. They don't matter at all. Our aspirations, who cares? You're going to die anyway. You're going to die anyway, so who cares what your aspirations are? Just wish what you want to and be happy wishing, but you're going to die, so it doesn't matter. None of your wishes matter. Building up wealth doesn't matter. Building up talents doesn't matter. Building up knowledge doesn't matter, because you're going to die, and you're just going to go back to physical elements. If there's nothing to you but material particles in a certain complex arrangement, if that's all that you are, when you die, those material elements gradually break back down into their component parts and are recycled for other mechanisms, human or otherwise. And so if the universe is a mechanical universe, purely mechanical, then there's no heart to the universe. There's no heart anywhere in the universe. But within everyone, there's the question, at least, the hope that doesn't somebody care about me? Doesn't somebody care about my joys and sorrows? Isn't there somebody who cares about my very being, who cares about the fact that I am? If it's purely mechanical, no. The answer is simple. No, there is nobody. It's just a machine, just like the clock. You take it apart, to the clock it's the same whether it's assembled or disassembled. If it's disassembled, it's no longer a clock, it's just a pile of gears and other things. If it's assembled, it goes on ticking out time, but who cares? The clock doesn't care. The clock doesn't care. And so if the universe is like that, just mechanical parts assembled, if the human body is just that, mechanical parts assembled, then nobody cares anything. Nothing really matters. And even if you love other people, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. You're going to die, they're going to die. What's the use of caring? What's the use of loving? What's the use of being compassionate? What's the use of being moral? There's no use whatsoever. Swamiji used to say that because in his time, utilitarians, that was the big philosophical movement at his time, utilitarianism, that is that the universe is mechanical. It's a scientifically material or materialistic scientific universe, a universe that's constructed on scientific but material principles. So it's purely mechanical. And so the utilitarians tried to find, they recognized the problem. If that's true, then what's the basis for morality? Why should I be good? And so thinkers like John Stuart Mills and others came up with the idea that no, we should work for the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And Swamiji said, why? Why? Why should I work for the greatest good for the greatest number of people? If there's no soul to the universe, if there's no heart to the universe, what does it matter? It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all. If I'm just going to live for a few years, and that's all that all of us live, even the person who lives to be over 100, when you get over 100, you see, well, it was just a few years that I was alive. Whether you die when you're 5 years old or you die when you're 105, when you die, it was just a few days. That's all that you were alive. When you're 5 years old, you think about 105, that looks like a huge time. I remember when I was 5, and friends in the neighborhood that were a little older than me, they were telling me that, well, next year you're going to school. And I said, yeah, I know, but how long am I going to have to go to school? Already I was in kindergarten and I hated that. I said, how long do I have to go to school for? I said, well, you've got to go at least for 12 years. 12 years? I've only existed for 5, and that's forever. And 12 years I've got to go to school. Yes, you've got to go to school for 12 years, and then you're certainly going to go to college, and if you want to be a doctor, you've got to go to 4 years of college plus 8 years of study to be a good doctor. I thought, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Is there some exit ramp from the trajectory that I'm on? They just sounded like too much. But no, as you get older, you see that no, life is so short. And so, if life is mechanical and life is short, then what does it matter? If I can steal, if I can lie, if I can cheat, and make myself happy, what does it matter? Other people, it might hurt them for a while, but they're going to die anyway. Once they're dead, who cares? Once they're dead, they're dead. Maybe they suffered for a little while because I did bad things to them. But once they're dead, they're dead. Once I'm dead, I'm dead. What does it matter? There's no utilitarian explanation for that. All of this idea that, no, we should work for the greatest good for the greatest number of people, assuming that I'm going to be among the greatest number of people and it's going to benefit me. Well, no, if I think that I'll be benefited by hurting people, why shouldn't I? There's no reason whatsoever. And then again, coming back to the standpoint of an ordinary person who's well motivated and everything, all of my joys and sorrows, all of the struggles I've been through in life, all of the difficulties I've been through, all of the things that I've put others through in order to get to where I am, what's the use of it all? If there's no heart to the universe, if nobody cares, then nothing matters, absolutely nothing. And there is no alternative to that conclusion. There's no rational alternative to that. People will tell you that, yes, there are many atheists who are very moral. That's true. That's true. But that's not a reason that explains why they should be moral. In fact, I would say that those who are atheists who are moral, and there are many very good people who are atheists, that is because of past momentum of society. They've been taught to be good by their parents, and why did eventually that good impulse, why was that there for them to become good? All morality is based in spirituality. Outside of spirituality, there is no foundation for morality. So even those people who say, I'm an atheist, but I'm a good person, I try to help others and everything, why? Why? There's no reason whatsoever from the standpoint of an atheist. You say, well, they do it. Yes, but they're doing it unconsciously. They're doing it because of past momentum. They're doing it because somehow they became by habit good by habit. And that's good. No type of goodness should be criticized. That's good that they are good. But eventually that will run out. Eventually that can't sustain itself. That's present in people, some people even now, because of past momentum, which came originally generations ago, perhaps in some families, from religion. But there's no rational reason for being good. And so does nobody care for me in this universe? Does nobody care what happens to me? Well, of course, religion says that yes, there is a heart to the universe. There is a heart to the universe. Not accepting that heart, not accepting that there is a warm, compassionate heart at the heart of the universe, there's no escape from the dull, deadly, mechanical forces of nature. No reason for being moral, no reason for being good, no reason for telling the truth, no reason for not stealing, if that serves your purpose. Again, most people who are materialistic and who are atheists, they still have goodness in them. They have goodness, and that's good. But there's no reason for that other than past momentum. No reason for it. There's no philosophical reason for it, no human reason for it. And so again, religion says that there is a heart at the heart of the universe. And some religions say, like the Hindu tradition, that there's a mother heart at the heart of the universe. That at the heart of the universe, there's the heart of a mother. In the Abrahamic religions, there are traces of that idea, but basically that idea was driven out of the Abrahamic religions. One of the features of Judaism was that it was against the mother goddesses of the surrounding areas, because you find all over the world that the idea of the mother goddess was prevalent. And it's a natural idea to think of God as mother. But in Judaism there was a rebellion against this idea of God as mother, and there was a philosophical reason for that. Part of it was that the people of that part of the world, including the Jews, were pastoral. That is, they were people who herded sheep and goats and so forth. And pastoral people historically have been patriarchal, highly patriarchal. Agricultural people, on the other hand, have been largely matriarchal. Not in the sense of the governing of society, but in the sense of the importance of motherhood. And so the Jews came from a part of the world that was largely patriarchal. And also the idea of the motherhood of God brings a problem from the standpoint of the Abrahamic traditions. The Abrahamic traditions are based on the idea, again with exceptions, because there had to be exceptions, because it couldn't sustain itself otherwise. They're based on the idea that God is separate from creation, that this universe is created and God has created it. And so there's God and there's creature. Now the mystics of all of these traditions, the Jewish tradition, the Christian tradition, the Islamic tradition, the Sufi tradition, all of them transcended this separation. But the basic separation was there at the heart of these traditions, except in the mystical tradition where again they bridged it, and that is the separation between God the Creator and God the created. Now if you have the idea of the fatherhood of God, it's easy to think of the Father making a universe separate from himself, constructing a universe, going to the workshop, sawing some boards, mixing some cement, making some bricks and things, and putting together a universe that's separate from God. But if you have the idea of the motherhood of God, that this universe has come from the mother, then you can't have this idea of the separation of creator and created. If the Divine Mother has given birth to this universe, if this universe is the child of the mother, then it's not separate from the mother herself. The baby is not separate from the mother. The baby is not separate from the mother. The baby comes from the very being of the mother. Whereas the father makes things externally. But the mother doesn't do that, not through motherhood. And so the motherhood idea of God, the idea of the motherhood of God, gives the idea that this universe is the creation of the mother herself. It has come out of the very being of the mother and is of the same substance as the mother. And so there's not the separation between the creator and the created. Now they used to say creatrix. That's gone out of style now, and that's a good thing. Creator. In fact, now there are no actresses, there are actors. So that has simplified English a great deal. And so the creator. Because I come from a generation when creatrix was still used, that always comes to mind. But now the creator serves the place of both, which is a good thing. So the mother is not really a creator. The mother isn't a creator. The mother gives birth. The mother gives birth to the universe. And so the child is not different from the mother in the sense that the workings, the products of the labor of a father are separate from the father. The father builds a house. Nobody thinks that, well, the house came out of the father's very being. No, they recognize that there's a father and there's a house. They're completely separate. And so with the fatherhood of God, that idea of the absolute nature of God, again in Judaism and Christianity and Islam, this idea was important. Again, it was bridged among the mystics, but in the exoteric, that is the common theology, the idea was that God or Allah is separate from the creation, pervades the creation, is present everywhere in creation, but is different from creation. And so that's why nothing here should be worshipped. Nothing here should be worshipped. All worship should go to God. All worship should go to Allah. Because nothing here is worthy of worship. Everything here is a creation of God. But the idea of the motherhood of God says no, that everything here is of the same stuff as the Divine Mother. Everything here is of the same being as the Divine Mother. That relationship between the Creator and the creation is never separated. That the child is of the same nature as the mother. And so everything here, if this has all come out of the Divine Mother, everything is the very substance of the mother. Everything, the mother is present in everything as the very being of everything. Not just present in the sense that God pervades everything, but is separate. Again, the idea in the Abrahamic traditions, with the exception of the mystics who went beyond that separation, God pervades everything but is separate from everything. That this is all time and space and limited. God is unlimited and beyond time and space and beyond creation. No. The Divine Mother is the divine itself who gives birth to the universe, and everything here shares in the nature of the Divine Mother. And so that's the basic difference between the idea of God as mother and God as Father, as it's come down to us through different religious traditions. Where God is worshipped as mother, there's no separation. And so what does that mean? The fear of the ancient Jews and the fear of the Abrahamic religions in general was the identification of God with the material universe. And that was for a good reason. It was not for a bad reason. It was for a good reason, because it was recognized that everything here is limited. Everything here comes into being and goes out of being. Everything is subject to time. And nothing here is eternal. Everything changes. Everything disappears. And again, everything is limited. Everything is born in pain and lives in pain and dies in pain. So there's suffering everywhere. So God cannot be that. And so God must be completely separate. So that's the idea behind protecting the absolute nature of God. But the idea of the Divine Mother gets over that difficulty in a different way. The Divine Mother, yes, everything here is subject to time. Everything here is subject to destruction. There is a suffering within life, and that's true. But the Divine Mother transcends all of that, and everything here also is beyond all of that. If we could see into the real nature of it, we would see everything is just the play of the Divine Mother. Everything is the play of the Divine Mother. We suffer, and others suffer, because we don't see it as play. We don't see the real nature of the Divine Mother. For the Divine Mother there is no suffering, because the Divine Mother is bliss itself. Anandamoy, Anandamoy Ma, the mother made of bliss itself. And everything here is made of the same bliss. But because we see it ignorantly, because we see it in its limitations from our limited standpoint, we see everything is cut off, separated, and suffering by its limitations, for its limitations. So the idea of God as mother doesn't lead to the idea that, well, God is subject to time, space, and causation, God is subject to suffering, God is subject to destruction and everything. No, the idea is that just as the Divine Mother is absolutely free, made of bliss itself, transcending time and space, so all of this is of the same nature. It's just that I am seeing it ignorantly. And so I have to see all of this as the play of the Divine Mother, and then I'll see that, yes, all of this is coming and going, but on the basis of what? Coming and going on the basis of what? If you see a storm on the sea, you see these huge waves rising and crashing and submerging, and other waves coming and splashing and making so much commotion. If you look at it from the standpoint of the surface of the ocean, you see the stormy nature and the tremendous chaotic, destructive nature of the surface of the ocean. But if you look at it from the standpoint of water, if you look at it from the standpoint of the ocean itself, then there's only water, nothing but water. And so this universe is the play of the Divine Mother. And when we look only at the surface, which is what we're seeing, our senses can only see the surface of things. And so we see the waves rising, the waves setting. But if we look at it as water, which is the Divine Mother herself, then we can enjoy the rising and the setting of the waves. We can enjoy the crashing of the waves. Once Sister Nivedita, it's told of, there was a man, I forget who it was, but he was I remember that he was a well-known Indian of the time, Indian gentleman of the time. He was visiting Sister Nivedita, and he said that there was a lightning storm outside. And when there was a huge strike of lightning, then Sister Nivedita jumped up and went to the window and said, "Oh, Ma Kali, Ma Kali, Ma Kali," in awe, not in fear, but in awe of the grandeur of Mother Kali. And so for her, everything was a manifestation of the Divine Mother Kali. She was a great devotee of Kali Ma. And so when we look at the waves, then we see one thing, but when we recognize that the waves are all water, we see something else. Then we see nothing but water. Then we see that the waves are nothing but water. There's that beautiful verse which I quote sometimes in other contexts from the Ashtavakra Samhita, which says, Mai ananda maham bodha vascharyam jiva vichayaha udyanti gnanti khelanti pravishanti swabhavataha. Mai ananta maham bodha, in me the infinite ocean of consciousness, the waves of individual selves, vichayaha, the waves of individual selves rise, strike for a time, play, and then they submerge back into the ocean. That is, that all of these waves, including this wave, all of these waves are rising in the infinite ocean of consciousness. They play for a time, they strike each other, and then they go back into the ocean of consciousness. And so that's from the standpoint of knowledge, the ocean of Satchidananda. But that Satchidananda is what? That Satchidananda is the Mother herself. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the Nitya and the Leela are the same reality. It's like a snake lying still and a snake moving. It's the same snake. And so the snake lying still is the Satchidananda, and the snake moving is the Divine Mother manifesting all of this tremendous energy. So the Divine Mother is Satchidananda. She is the ocean of Satchidananda, but she also manifests as this tremendous dynamic universe, this universe of play, this universe of dance. The idea that's in the dance of Shiva, that also is the dance of Kali, the dance of Kali. So this universe is the dance of the Divine Mother. And at the heart of the universe is the heart of a mother. Now let me say a few words about Kali, because that's one aspect of the Divine Mother. There are many aspects, as you know. Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity and good fortune, Durga, and Parvati, and Uma, and so many different forms of the Divine Mother. But Kali is one that's more difficult to understand for most people. And yet that was the chosen ideal of Sri Ramakrishna. So as you know, in the image of Kali, she has 4 hands. On her right side, she's showing the Varadana, giving boons, and Abhaya Mudra, fearlessness, giving fearlessness. But on the left hand, she's holding in one hand a severed head, and in the other hand a sword to cut off the head. The Swami Vivekananda said that that head is not the head of a demon. That's your head. That's my head. Kali is cutting off your head. She's cutting off my head. And at the same time she's saying, Abhayadana, she's giving abhayadana. That is, giving assurance of freedom from fear. Yes, I'm cutting off your head, but there's nothing to fear. And I'm also giving you boons. It's the same mother. The same mother. So the idea of Kali is not, as some people I've heard say, that the Kali is the chastising mother, meaning the punishing mother or the chastising mother. No, 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 no. Mother Kali is Anandamaya Ma. She's the all blissful mother. She's Premamaya Ma. She's all love, made of love itself, the all loving mother. She's motherhood itself. And so this holding one head and severing it, and at the same time saying Abhaya and Varadana, that's to say that I'm the giver of life, and I'm also the giver of death. But in the midst of life and death, Abhaya, Abhaya, Ma Abhaya, Ma Abhaya. Fear not, don't fear, because it all comes from me. I'm the mother. It's just the rising of waves and the setting of waves. It's all the play of life. It's all the play of life. There's nothing to fear in birth, there's nothing to fear in death, because all of it is my play. And as I've quoted in other contexts here, there's a beautiful passage in the Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, where Sri Ramakrishna is saying everything here is the play of the Divine Mother. Everything is the play of the Divine Mother. And the devotee says, well, sir, it may be play to the Divine Mother, but it's our suffering. And you have to sympathize with the standpoint of this devotee. Because, yes, it's one thing to say that everything is the play of the Divine Mother, but how much do we enjoy it? We're the ones who are suffering. We're the ones who have so many difficulties in life. Yes, we have joy also. We have good experiences also. But for every joyful experience, we have a sorrowful experience also. And that's true for children as well as adults. It's not that children pass their childhood in carefree abandon. No, children have their own sufferings. And so we all have our joys, but we also have our sorrows. And so if this is the Divine Mother's play, I don't want any part of it. I don't want to be part of Mother's play. But no, when the devotee said, but what about, but that may be good for Mother Kali, it may be her play, but it's our suffering. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, but who are you? But who are you? Meaning you are the Divine Mother. So the idea of the mother's play is not as we generally think of it. The mother is out there playing, and we're the dolls, the marionettes who are being played with. And she's making this person happy for a minute, and making that person cry, and now making that person cry, and this person laugh, and she's having a great time with our chaotic lives and the sufferings that we go through. No, that's not the play of the Divine Mother. The whole thing is the mother is again, there's not the separation in the motherhood of God between the Creator and the creation. The creation is the Divine Mother. This whole universe is the play of the Divine Mother. Your experience is the experience of the Divine Mother. Your suffering is the suffering of the Divine Mother. Your joy is the joy of the Divine Mother. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, what is it? Brahma Rupena Samstita. It's not Brahma, it's some other word. Bhranti, yes. Bhranti Rupena Samstita. Salutations to that goddess who is manifested in all beings as error, as mistake, as ignorance, who is manifested in all beings as night, as the darkness of night. So all of this is the play of the Divine Mother. The Mother is inside of everything. She's inside of all of the experience. Your experience is the experience of the Divine Mother. And so it's not that Mother is out here and she's playing with you and making you miserable and while she laughs. No. Your experience is the experience of the Divine Mother. And yet, because she sees the totality, all of it is joy for her. All of it is joy for her. Our problem is that we separate ourselves from the Divine Mother and we claim the experience for ourselves and say that this is my experience. And my experience is separate from everybody else. And I am separate from everybody else. No, we have to learn to see the totality, to dance with Ma Kali, to dance with Ma Kali, and to see that, yes, my experience is the experience of Mother. When I see beauty, it's Mother seeing beauty. When I see ugliness, it's Mother seeing ugliness. When I am happy, it's Mother that's happy. When I'm sad, it's Mother that's sad. It's not separate from that. You know, the beautiful experience in Holy Mother's life. Sri Ramakrishna said that I left you behind to exemplify the motherhood of God. And how perfectly Holy Mother did that. Every incident in Holy Mother's life. Her life was extremely simple. None of the drama in Sri Ramakrishna's life. Her life was extremely simple and devoid of all grandeur, like in Sri Ramakrishna's life or Swamiji's life. And yet every incident in her life is worthy of meditation. And so this one incident that I was going to tell is when a woman came to the Holy Mother one day, and Mother knew her, had seen her before, and saw that the woman was extremely distressed. And so she said, "My dear, my child, what's the matter?" And the woman said, "I lost my child. My child just died." And then the mother, instead of philosophizing, instead of saying, "Oh, pray to Thakur," or anything like that, what did the mother do? She began to weep. She began to weep. She wept so hard and so long and so sincerely that the woman felt that her own weeping was taken over by the mother. And so the bereaved mother, she left the Holy Mother with just a quiet sadness which she could bear. A quiet, natural sadness which she could bear. But she felt that the mother had washed all of the sorrow out of her, except for a quiet sadness, which of course was natural to be there. And so that was Holy Mother. She wasn't outside of this other person, looking down on them and laughing because it was her play that this woman was weeping. No. She wept for the woman. She was the Divine Mother inside of the other person, and she took all of the weeping away by weeping herself. And so the Divine Mother is that. The Divine Motherhood is that mother heart, at the heart of everything, which identifies with everything as her own. So we go through life thinking, is there anybody in life who really understands me? There are many jokes, and it's in sitcoms you see it also, and in movies and so forth, where a couple that's been married for 50 years, they each realize that I've been married for him for 50 years and I still have no idea who that guy is. And so we go through life wondering, is there anybody who really understands me? Is there anybody who really accepts me just for me? Not because of what I do, not because of what I earn, not because of talents that I have, not because I do the right things and so forth, but is there anyone who loves me just because I am? Who loves my very being? Is there anyone who accepts me just as I am? Is there anyone who really cares about me fully? And the answer to that is yes, because there is a mother heart at the heart of the universe. A mother who cares about everyone as her own child. So the mother sees the totality as her child, but every part of it as her child. Every part of it as her own child. So you may say that, well, why doesn't the Divine Mother let us know that? Why doesn't the Divine Mother reveal herself to us? Well, the strange thing is that the Divine Mother is revealing to herself to us every moment. She's there. It's we who are absent. It's we who are absent. There's that other incident I've mentioned before in other contexts from the life of Mother and of Sri Ramakrishna, when the Holy Mother had gone into a deep state of samadhi. And when she was coming back, she still was not aware of her body or of the people around her. There were just 3 or 4 women devotees like Golap Ma, Yogin Ma, who were sitting around her. She was not yet aware of them. And she began to speak in a highly abstracted state. and said, no one understands how Sri Ramakrishna suffers. Seated in the hearts of all, waiting only for people to turn their attention to him, but how few turn their attention to him. And so Sri Ramakrishna was the incarnation of the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna was the incarnation of Ma Kali. And so to say that Sri Ramakrishna is seated in the hearts of all is to say that the Divine Mother is seated in the hearts of all. She's there. She's present. It's we who aren't present. We who aren't present. And the Mother never forces anything on anyone. As Sri Ramakrishna said in a metaphor, the mother allows the children to play as long as they want to play. But when the child says, no, now I'm tired of playing, now I want to go back to mother, now I want mother, then the mother is ready to take the child into her arms. But as long as we want to play, then the mother says, okay, you play, that's fine, that's fine. In a very different context, Swami Vivekananda, when he was giving a lecture in, I believe it was in New York, I'm not sure now, but it was in his last trip to America. I'm pretty sure it was in New York. Josephine McLeod was in the audience. And Swamiji began to speak. But after just a minute or two, suddenly Swamiji stopped speaking and walked off stage, back behind the curtains. So Miss McLeod, who was very close to Swamiji, she went back behind the stage and found Swamiji and said, Swamiji, what happened? Did you forget what you were going to say? And Swamiji said, no, but I saw that everyone was like wet clay in my hands, and I could give any form to them that I wanted to. I don't want to take that type of authority over other people. Because he had respect for the divinity of everyone. Swamiji taking us in his hands and molding us, he would have only molded us into a spiritual shape, into a beautiful shape. But even that he didn't want to do, because he didn't want to violate the divinity, the divine dignity of every being. And so all of us are born with divine dignity. And the Mother allows us to play as long as we want. But when we want to go back to her, when we really want it, not for 5 minutes during meditation once a day, or 10 minutes during meditation once a day, and the rest of the time we want to take care of other things. But no, when we really want to go back to the Divine Mother, then the assurance is there from Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji, and others who have done that, that she will take us back, that she's only waiting for us. And so again, it's not that the Mother is playing with us for her pleasure and our misery. No. The Divine Mother is in the midst of everything. Our suffering is her suffering. Our joy is her joy. Again, the Mother is identified with everything, and so she's identified with the joys of everyone, but she's also identified with the sorrows of everyone. And so that sounds very strange, that the Divine Mother is identified with the sorrow of everyone. That sounds pretty terrible. We can't even bear our own sorrow, what to speak of the sorrows of the whole universe. From the ant and the mouse and the cat and the dog and the birds, all of the creatures and the billions of people, identified with the suffering of all of that. But the secret there is that anything that's identified with the infinite becomes infinitely blissful. So even sorrow, when it becomes vast, becomes blissful. That's why a Jesus or a Buddha or a Swami Vivekananda or a Sri Ramakrishna or a Holy Mother could identify with the sufferings of all beings and have it be a beautiful thing, an ennobling thing. Nalpe sukhamasti. Within the small there is no happiness. Bhumaiva sukham. The infinite alone is bliss. And the infinite alone is bliss. And so even sorrow, when it becomes infinite, becomes indistinguishable from bliss. It's sorrow because we're cut off, because we isolate it, but not sorrow in itself. And so the Anandamoy Ma, the blissful Mother, she's always blissful, in the midst of sorrow, in the midst of happiness. And yet, as Sri Ramakrishna said about God, the God hears even the footfall of an ant. And so the Divine Mother hears even the footfall of an ant. And so certainly she hears the prayers of a devotee. If she listens even to the footfall of an ant, surely she listens to the prayers of a devotee and will listen. And I've seen many times in the lives of devotees as well as monastics, in the lives of both devotees and monastics, how after a lifetime of trying to depend on the Divine Mother, that by the end you see that it worked. It worked miracles in the life of a person, so that the person dies in the embrace of the Divine Mother, and not in misery. And so the motherhood of God is manifested as motherhood in the hearts of all beings, and especially in the heart of a mother. That intense love of the mother for the child, as Sri Ramakrishna said, was put there by the divine itself. And then the equivalence between the motherhood of God and the non-dualistic perspective becomes visible when we see the image, which sometimes is abstracted. You see it especially in Christian art, where the Madonna, Mother Mary, is holding the child Jesus. You see the Mother Mary over the child Jesus, and you see sort of this circle where the mother is enveloping the child Jesus. And so in the experience of the motherhood of God is the experience of non-dualism, because again the mother is not different from the child. There's the recognition in the child of its own being in the mother, and the recognition of the mother of its own being in the child. And so the motherhood of God, the worshiping God as mother, is one of the wonderful ways to come to the non-dualistic realization as well. And it's commonly said that, well, worship the Divine Mother to attain to non-dualism, because the mother is the one who holds the key to non-dualism. But there's a better reason than that. That's a good enough reason. That's a good reason, one reason. But there's a much better reason. And that is that the mother and the child are non-separate. And that in the recognition of that non-separation comes the experience of identity, the experience of non-dualism. That the mother gives her being to the child, and the child gives its being to the mother. And in that union comes the non-dualistic realization of the identity with the whole. And let me just say one other thing, and then I'll conclude, and we'll stop for today. This is on the motherhood of God, but it's different from the direction I've been going. I just want to mention it because it's an important side note. You all know the 5 relationships to God. That is, God as the Shanta Bhava, that is the peaceful attitude towards God. That God is the infinite, and I'm the small part of it, and so my relationship to God is a peaceful relationship. Then there's the Dasya attitude, that I'm the servant and God is the master. And then there's the Sakha, the attitude of a friend. The friend of God, the Sakya Bhava. That God is my friend. And then there's the Vatsalya Bhava, the mother to the child, Krishna. And then there's the Madhura Bhava, that is the relationship between two lovers. The God is my beloved, and I'm God's lover. And so those are the 5 bhavas. And so those are often talked about as the 5 bhavas, but those are not the only bhavas. Those are the 5 bhavas that were traditionally directed towards Sri Krishna. But where's the attitude of God as mother? It's not there, because Krishna was not a mother. So naturally it's not there. So unfortunately that idea of the 5 bhavas is usually presented as the summation of all of the attitudes towards God. No, it's not the summation of all of the attitudes towards God. There's also the attitude of the child to the mother. It also doesn't include the attitude of the child towards the father, the Pitri Bhava and the Matri Bhava. So there are these other attitudes towards God. But the attitude of God as mother is one which Sri Ramakrishna felt had special significance to the modern world and the world that's about to be born, the new age which is coming, not in what are Western terms called the New Age movement, but the new age which Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda saw as coming, the world which is being born through great turmoil right now, but a world in which a new world will be born out of the present turmoil. Because the old ways of looking at things, the old ways of doing things, those no longer work. And things are falling apart all around us in society, and even the environment, everything is falling apart. The economy, governments, everything is falling apart because the old way is no longer work. But a new way is coming. A new way is beginning to develop. And that will grow out of the chaos that we're experiencing right now. And Sri Ramakrishna felt that for the coming age, that the idea of the motherhood of God had special significance. Not that everybody will ever worship God in one way. No, all of the ways of worshiping God will remain. But in every age, there's a particular attitude which is dominant. And so the attitude of the worship of God as mother, he felt, was especially appropriate for the coming time. And so he exemplified it, and then he, in his own attitude towards the Divine Mother Kali, as the child of Kali. And the Holy Mother exemplified it from the standpoint of motherhood itself. And so it's again, all of the attitudes towards God are available, and whatever is natural to you is what you should take. You shouldn't take the attitude of worshiping God as mother because somebody told you that's what's meant for the modern age. No, all attitudes are there, and they will always remain. And some people will select one or another, but the attitude of God as mother will be one of the prominent attitudes in the coming world, and that will help heal many of the emotional divisions we find in society. Because when you see that the whole world is a child of the mother, and you also are part of you also are a child of the mother, then you can't hate anyone. You can't hate anyone. You have to come to love everyone, because everyone is a child of the mother. And because everyone is a child of the mother, everyone is an image of the mother as well. And so you can't hate anyone. You have to learn to accept all. You have to take all to yourself. That includes even difficult people. Yes, you have to take everyone to yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to waste all of your time spending it with difficult people. No. But you don't hate difficult people. Certainly there are people you have to protect yourself from, and you always will have to. But protecting yourself is one thing, and hating is a different thing. Protecting yourself is one thing, and rejecting is a different thing. And so learning to love all, learning to accept all, learning to wish well for all, learning to wish the welfare of all, as well as material creation, that this also is from the mother's very being. This is the mother's very being, so I must take care of this as well as people. I have to take care of everything. And with that attitude, if that attitude spreads, then the relationship with the world, with the environment, with resources, everything will change. And so I'll conclude by praying to the Divine Mother for the welfare of us all, for the development of spirituality within us all, and for the recognition within us all of the Divine Mother who motivates us all and is within the experience of all, and is that which experiences within us. Each one of us, when we say I, that I belongs to the Divine Mother. I'm going to do this, that I belongs to the Divine Mother, not to the ego who thinks it's speaking. The ego is an imposter. The ego is pretending to be in control. The ego doesn't control anything. The ego doesn't know anything. The ego is an imposter. The I belongs to the Divine Mother, and the I within everyone is the I of the Divine Mother. And so may that Divine Mother awaken within us all. I'll give a closing chant, then announcements, and then the arati. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. That infinite reality is full, perfect, and complete. This relative universe is full, perfect, and complete. From out of the fullness of that infinite reality, the fullness of this universe has come. And yet that reality remains ever the same. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all the beings of the universe.